Hi.
Hi, my name is Zoila Lisa Pasos, born in Nicaragua. I came to the United States 1978 at 9 years old. Went to school, went to college, graduated from Rio Hondo College, and got married at a young age. I was married for 18 years to Ramiro Leiva. We had a daughter, Tatiana, and had a great marriage. Unfortunately, towards the end of our marriage, we just grew apart, and I got divorced in 2005. And shortly after that, I met my twin's father, Arafat, and I moved to Miami for a couple of years. When I was in Florida, I met Arafat here, actually doing an open house. I'm also a realtor. So I was doing an open house, and he came to see the house that I was, viewing that day. And and that's how we met. Turns out that he's from Nicaragua as well. And so that caught my attention because I don't meet too many Nicaraguan people here in Los Angeles. So we became friends, and thereafter, we started dating. And I moved to Florida, and he actually followed me to Florida. He moved from Los Angeles to Florida. So we had plans to be married. We planning a family, and so became pregnant, and I lost the baby. That was early in 2007. I was 2 months pregnant, and I had a terrible loss. Shortly after that, we still wanted to be pregnant, become pregnant again. And 6 months later, I became pregnant with the twins. When early in '07, though, when I was pregnant from the baby I lost, I had felt a lump in my breast, and I had gotten implants. I got implants in May of 2006, and I felt the lump in early '07, and I went to go get it mammogrammed and ultrasound. I was in Florida at that time, and it just came back as a simple benign cyst. They called it a water cyst, nothing to worry about, so because there's no history of cancer in my family, I thought, okay, well, it's just water. When I became pregnant with the boys in September, I felt that lump that was supposed to be a water cyst grew in size. And I thought, well, when you're pregnant, everything grows, your breast, your stomach, everything, and so I thought, because I had implants, I thought that maybe one of the implants was leaking water. And so I thought, since I was already moving back to California, I thought I wait till I got to LA to go see my gynecologist. And I did that. I got here in early November of '07. And I immediately went to go see my doctor, Dr. James Park in Downey Regional. And he felt the lump, and he said, well, he goes, I'm going to send you for the ultrasound of the baby. At that time, I just thought it was just one baby, and the day that you come in for the ultrasound of the baby, we will also do an ultrasound of the breast. And I said, okay. So I did. I went in, and I went in for the ultrasound of the baby, and it was actually great, because as I'm laying down and she's doing the ultrasound, she looked at me and she says, any twins in your family or his family? And I'm like, I thought that question was kind of weird, and she's got this thing on my stomach, and I'm looking at her and I'm going, why are you asking me that? And then she turned the screen and she says, well, she goes, meet baby A and meet baby B, you know? And I was like, what? I'm having twins? So it was great, you know. I started crying and I was very excited. I was there by myself because their dad was in Nicaragua on vacation. So I was like, wow, overwhelmed with the news. And then after I got out of the ultrasound and finding out the greatest news in my life, I went and had the ultrasound of the breast. I never thought, I was so overwhelmed with happiness, you know, with the news about the babies, that cancer was the last thing in my head, you know. I just thought it was just water, something's leaking, I'm pregnant, you know, everything's growing inside me right now. And so I got a phone call the next day after the breast ultrasound, and they called me to tell me that I needed to come in for an aspiration of the breast. And I thought, oh, perfect, it's just water. Something's got to be leaking in there. You know, well, she made a mistake. She called me an hour later and she says, I'm sorry. She says, you need to come in for a biopsy. And I said, a biopsy? So it's a mass that you see in there? She says, well, I cannot really tell you. You need to talk to the doctors. And I said, okay. So I came in for a biopsy the next day. And took 2 weeks for the results to come in. But in the whole time, again, cancer was not in my mind. Because, again, there's no history of breast cancer in my family. My immediate family, no cancer. I have grandparents great-grandparents that died of cancer. But, you know, I just never in my head, that was the last thing in my thoughts. When I was with the pregnancy with my boys, my amniotic fluid was testing high. So, and because I was over 35, my gynecologist highly recommended that I go for an amniocentesis test, you know, which determines if there's any kind of Down syndrome with the babies, you know. So I was mostly concerned about the results of that test than I was about the results of the cancer, you know. I was just anxious, looking at my phone constantly, waiting for that phone call, because I was concerned about my babies. I want to make sure that my boys were good, you know. And not that it was going to make a difference, because if I would have had, you know, a Down syndrome baby, it's okay. I just wanted to be prepared and ready for that, you know. So the day that I found out that I had cancer, it was December 26th already. This whole time, I'm not only waiting to hear back from the results of the amniocentesis test, but I'm also in the midst of the last, you know, details and preparations for my daughter's quinceañera, her presentation, 15th birthday. I was having a big, you know, party for her at the Radisson Hotel in Knott's Berry Farm with 350 guests. So we're still doing the last minute details, you know, so I'm excited about that. So really, cancer was not in my head at all, you know. So we go to the mountains to go skiing. I'm 4.5 months pregnant, and my daughter and a few family members. As we're coming down from the mountain, I get a phone call, and it's from my doctor, from Dr. Park, my gynecologist. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, the amniocentesis, you know, test came back. And he calls me and tells me, you need to come in tomorrow morning. You need to come and see the oncologist. Can you believe it? I didn't even know what an oncologist was. I really didn't know that. That's what you call the cancer doctors, you know. And I'm like, an oncologist? Who's that? And why? You know, and he's like, well, Zoila, your breast results came back and they are positive. It's malignant and you have cancer. I'm like, cancer? My daughter's sitting next to me. We're coming down from the mountain. The car's full of people and it's just quiet. Everybody's just quiet. Like, my daughter starts, bawling, just crying, you know. And she wants to cancel her party. And I'm like, okay, All right. Okay. I said, how bad is it? You know, when am I gonna die? Am I gonna die soon? And I mean, tell me, I mean, how much more do I have to live? Those are the first questions out of my mouth, you know? And he says, well, I go, well, and I said, and what about the babies? You know? And he said, you have to have an abortion. He's recommending that you have an abortion. In order to get treated, you need to have an abortion. And I'm like, wow. So it was just too much, you know? And so I said, okay, I will be there tomorrow. And he set up, the appointment was set up and everything. And so I said, okay, so just hang up the phone and everybody's quiet and they don't know what to say. Nobody knows how to act. My daughter's just crying crazy. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna cancel anything. The quinceañera goes on, party goes on, life goes on, okay? We're gonna see what's gonna happen, all right? So everybody just calm down, you know? And God, it was awful. I was scared to death. But I didn't want to reflect that. I didn't want to show that because I had to be strong for my child and for my unborn children and for my daughter as well. So anyways, go to see the doctor the next morning, the oncologist, cancer doctor. I called my mother in Miami, of course, and she got on a plane the next day. She was here like on the 28th of December. And a huge part of my recovery. She was amazing. So anyway, so I go see the oncologist and he tells me that I need to have an abortion. That he already had set up I had to go through it was a 3-day process. So I had to go to an orientation of what was gonna happen to me and how they were gonna proceed with the abortion, because an abortion of a 4.5 months pregnant female, it's quite different than when you're in your first trimester. You know, it was twins. And I'm only 2 weeks from being 5 months. So we had to really act quickly, you know. And so I went, and he said, we already have an appointment set up for you on Thursday. You gotta go in and they gotta measure the baby's heads and the baby's size and the positions and stuff like that, because it's a 3-day process. And I said, okay. So I did. I went to the abortion clinic. I went that Thursday. That Monday that he talked to me, he had already set up the appointment for the abortion orientation for that same Thursday. And this whole time, believe it or not, you know, I'm still thinking about the amniocentesis test. These results took forever. It just seemed like an eternity. I was still waiting for the amniocentesis test results to come back. You know, although they already had told me that I needed to have an abortion, I'm still concerned about my babies, you know? And so I'm like, okay. And this whole time I'm just asking for a sign from God, you know, as to what I need to do, you know? So I go to the orientation for 3 days for what was going to happen to me those 3 days. And they tell me, well, you know, they measure the baby's heartbeat. The baby's heads, and they, you know, wanted to see their positions and stuff like that. And she says, you're gonna come in next Thursday, and a week from today, which I was there on a Thursday, so she goes, a week from today, and we're gonna give you an injection. It's lethal, that will stop the baby's heartbeat, you know. Then you come in the next day. And just as I'm talking to you right now, that's exactly how she was talking to me. Very normal, you know? And she says, and you're gonna come in the next day and we're gonna insert a device in your cervix, you know, to dilate, you know, to get you ready for the final suction, which will be the 3rd day. You know, the final suction is a vacuum cleaning device, you know, where they, you know, extract the babies from the uterus, and they break their little bodies and stuff like that. And so this whole time she's telling me these things, my babies are moving, okay, and I just want to throw up, and I just said stop, and I already put a deposit, by the way, because although I had insurance, I had to put a deposit for the anesthetic, so I said, you know what, stop. I said, I'm not gonna go through with this. I said, because I know for a fact that if cancer doesn't kill me, I'm gonna die regardless, because I'm gonna die of depression. I'm gonna die of depression knowing that I am killing 2 innocent lives, okay, to save mine. Oh no, I'm not gonna go through with this. Just never mind, keep your money, thank you very much. I shook her hand, I got up, and I walked out. In the waiting room, the waiting area, was my 2 best friends. I went with Linda and Pat. They went with me because at this time, the father, the baby's dad, Arafat, still hadn't returned from Nicaragua. So I decided I'm not gonna have an abortion. I don't care what happens. I'm not gonna have an abortion. And this whole time I'm still asking for that sign, okay? These test results for the amniocentesis were taking forever. I mean, just thinking about it right now, I'm still upset about how long they took, And so the following Thursday that I was supposed to start the abortion process, I get a phone call at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's finally the test results. And I'm like, Jesus, please, just send me a sign, and the sign came. It did. She says, I just have to tell you that baby A chromosomes are perfect, and baby B chromosomes are also perfect. You're having 2 perfect babies. And I'm like, yes. So there, that was my sign, and so I educated myself. I thank God for the internet. I logged on to Pregnant with Cancer. I found this great organization. It's called Hope for Two, and they're out of New Jersey. These are cancer survivors of females that have gone through cancer, and their children are already grown men, or females. And I've contacted Dr. Cardonic, Elise Cardonic, who is an amazing doctor who does nothing but research about pregnant women, with cancer. And she says, oh no, she goes, you don't need to have an abortion. You can get treatments. You can definitely save your life and save the life of those children. And so it was amazing. I had great support from this organization. And then I went to City of Hope. I went to UCLA, and I found this great doctor out of Orange Coast Memorial, Dr. Bicklin Nguyen, and she's from Vietnam, and Dr. Kakis, Jane Kakis. They're great, excellent women, and it was just only about breast cancer. So going to these doctors was excellent, because they were like, you don't need to have an abortion. We're gonna treat you. I got chemo immediately. My first chemo was on January the 8th, and even just going to chemo, I look forward, to going for chemo, because it was such a great support group of nothing but females that were sharing the same thing, and so walking in there was actually it was fun. I mean, I know it sounds ironic for me to say chemo's fun, but just my group, the group of females in there that would see me walk in there with a big belly, expecting twins, going through chemotherapy and going through breast cancer. Wow. So it was inspiring to all of them, and we were a big support group to each other, and I'm still a week or 2 weeks away from Tatiana's quinceañera. Let's not forget that. I get my first chemo January the 8th, and they tell me you have 12 days. In 12 days, you will lose all your hair. It's exactly to the 12th day. And I'm like, oh, wow, my daughter's quinceañera is on the 19th of January. I hope I hold on to some kind of hair, you know? And says, well, just keep your fingers crossed. And I did. I held on to it, believe it or not. It was thinning out, you know, but our hairdresser, Alex, who's marvelous, and he came in that morning and he says, oh yeah, we can do something. So he did.